I decorated my office with my daughter's family drawings, not knowing she was drawing my wife's secret boyfriend all along. I, 37M, received a call from my daughter's art teacher yesterday that has completely shattered my world. I've been sitting here for hours trying to process everything, and I guess I need to get this off my chest. My daughter is 6, and she's always been the light of my life. Ever since she could hold a crayon, she's been drawing pictures of our family, usually stick figures with wild hair and big smiles. I've kept every single one, even the ones that look more like abstract art than people. She inherited her artistic talent from my wife, who used to paint before her corporate job took over her life. Our refrigerator has always been a gallery of our daughter's latest masterpieces, and my office cubicle is plastered with them too. The art teacher called during my lunch break at work. I was in the middle of a sandwich when my phone lit up with the school's number. My first thought was that my daughter had gotten hurt, but the art teacher started the conversation casually, mentioning how talented my daughter is. I could tell something was off in her voice, that slight tremor people get when they're about to say something difficult. Then she asked if I could come in to discuss a family portrait my daughter had drawn. "Is everything okay?" I asked, already feeling uneasy. My sandwich sat forgotten on my desk as my stomach twisted into knots. She hesitated before explaining that my daughter had drawn a detailed family portrait, but the man in the picture, the one she labeled as Daddy, didn't look anything like me. Instead, she'd drawn someone with different features, including what the teacher described as distinctive tattoo sleeves. The teacher mentioned she wouldn't normally call about artwork, but this seemed significant. I don't have any tattoos. Never have, never wanted them. My hands started shaking as memories flooded back. My wife texting more frequently lately, always quickly turning her phone away when I walked by. She'd been going to Mom's Night Out every Thursday for the past few months, claiming she needed time with her friends to de-stress from her new job. I'd even encouraged it, thinking she deserved a break from the pressures of work and family life. The signs had been there all along. The new perfume she started wearing 3 months ago. Not her usual subtle scent, but something stronger, more noticeable. The gym membership she barely used but insisted on keeping. The mysterious weekend errands that took hours longer than they should. Her sudden interest in changing her wardrobe, buying new clothes that were slightly more revealing than her usual style. All these little changes I'd noticed but dismissed, telling myself I was being paranoid. I left work early, telling my boss I had a family emergency. He must have seen something in my face because he just nodded and told me to take whatever time I needed. The drive home felt surreal, like I was watching someone else navigate through traffic. I kept thinking about all those Thursday nights, imagining what might have really been happening while I sat at home with our daughter, helping her with homework and watching Disney movies. When I got home, I went straight to my daughter's room. She has a drawer full of artwork, and I started going through it with trembling hands. That's when I found them, several drawings from the past few months, all showing the same tattooed man, sometimes alone with my daughter at what looked like a park, sometimes with my wife. In one picture, they were at what appeared to be an ice cream shop. My daughter had carefully drawn different colored scoops and sprinkles. In another, they were feeding ducks at the pond near our house. Each drawing was dated and signed, just like her art teacher had taught them to do. I sat there on my daughter's floor, surrounded by her artwork, each picture feeling like a punch to the gut. The dates on the drawings went back nearly 6 months. 6 months of my daughter documenting a reality I knew nothing about. 6 months of another man becoming part of her world while I worked late shifts trying to secure that promotion I thought would make our lives better. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I called my wife, who was supposedly at work. She didn't answer. I texted her that we needed to talk about our daughter's artwork. 20 minutes later, she called back, her voice shaking. I could hear the fear in it, the knowledge that everything was about to change. "I can explain," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "How long?" I asked, holding one of the drawings, this one showing the 4 of us together, like some twisted version of a happy family. The silence felt endless before she answered, 8 months. She started crying, saying she'd meant to tell me, that she didn't know how our daughter had found out, that she'd been careful to keep her affairs separate from our family life. But our daughter had seen them together at the park near her dance class, the one where my wife was supposed to be having coffee with her friends while waiting for our daughter's lesson to end. Apparently, he'd come to several of her recitals too, standing in the back of the auditorium while I sat in the front row, proudly recording every moment. The worst part was hearing her explain how it started. He was a personal trainer at her gym, the membership she'd insisted on keeping. What began as innocent training sessions turned into coffee meetings, then dinners, then more. She claimed she tried to keep him away from our daughter, but he'd run into them one day at the park, and after that, it became increasingly difficult to maintain boundaries. I'm sitting here now, looking at these drawings that have exposed a truth I wasn't ready to face. My daughter's artistic talent, something that used to bring me so much joy, has become the very thing that revealed how my family has been falling apart without me even realizing it. Each crayon stroke tells a story of betrayal, not just of our marriage, but of our daughter's innocence. My wife is staying at her sister's place tonight. We're supposed to talk things through tomorrow, but how do you talk through something like this? How do you explain to a 6-year-old that the man she's been drawing, the one who takes her to the park and buys her ice cream, isn't supposed to be in her family portraits? How do you tell her that the happy scenes she's been creating on paper are actually evidence of something that's breaking her family apart? The hardest moment was when she came home from school today. She ran to me with another drawing, this one showing all 4 of us at the beach. "Can we go there together?" she asked, her eyes bright with hope. I couldn't speak. I just hugged her, probably too tight, while she chatted about how her art teacher had praised her use of colors. She doesn't understand why mommy isn't home tonight, or why daddy's eyes are red. I've scheduled an appointment with a family lawyer for next week. The drawings are carefully stored in a folder, evidence of how long this has been going on, proof that my wife involved our daughter in her affair without my knowledge. I don't know what's going to happen with custody arrangements or how any of this will affect my daughter. The thought of not seeing her every day makes me feel physically sick. For now, I'm just sitting here, surrounded by drawings that tell a story I never wanted to read, wondering how I'm going to face my daughter's art teacher at the parent-teacher conference next week, knowing that she was the one who finally made me see what was happening right under my nose. I keep thinking about all those Thursday nights I said goodbye to my wife as she left for her mom's night out, completely oblivious to the fact that my daughter probably already knew where she was really going. Kids see more than we think they do. They just show it in different ways, sometimes with crayons and colored paper. The cruelest irony is that just last month, I finally got that promotion I'd been working so hard for. I'd planned a surprise vacation for the 3 of us. The tickets are still sitting in my desk drawer. I thought we were just going through a rough patch, that things would get better once I could provide more for my family. Now I realize that while I was planning our future, my wife was planning her exit. Update, 3 days later. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. The past few days have been a blur of emotions and difficult conversations. I met with my wife at a neutral location, a coffee shop where we used to have Sunday brunch dates, and laid everything out. She broke down completely and admitted to more than I'd even suspected. The affair had started at her gym. He was her personal trainer, as I'd guessed. But what I hadn't known was that they were actually planning to move in together. She'd already looked at apartments in another school district. She showed me texts where they discussed how to transition our daughter into their new life together. Reading those messages felt like having my heart ripped out all over again. The most gut-wrenching part was our conversation with our daughter. We had a child psychologist present, following my lawyer's advice. She innocently asked if we could all go to the park together like she'd drawn in her pictures. That's when we realized she didn't understand the situation at all in her mind. He was just another adult friend, like her teachers or her aunts and uncles. She didn't grasp that her drawings had revealed something wrong. I've documented everything, including the drawings. My lawyer says they could be significant in custody discussions, especially since they provide a timeline of how long my wife has been exposing our daughter to her affair partner without my knowledge or consent. I'm pushing for primary custody. The fact that they were planning to move her to a new school without discussing it with me is a major red flag. My wife is still at her sister's, and I'm trying to maintain as much normalcy as possible for our daughter. We've enrolled her in art therapy, hoping it will help her process everything that's about to change. Her art teacher has been incredibly supportive, sending home extra art supplies and offering to let her spend lunch periods in the art room if she needs a quiet space. The hardest part now is maintaining my composure when my daughter shows me new artwork. Yesterday, she drew a picture of just the 2 of us, standing in front of our house. "I made Daddy happy this time," she said, pointing to the big smile she'd drawn on my face. I had to leave the room so she wouldn't see me cry. Sometimes I look at those family portraits and wonder how I missed the signs for so long. But then I remember that I trusted my wife completely. Maybe that's why the betrayal cut so deep. The same hands that once held mine while we walked down the aisle were now drawing up plans to take our daughter away. The same person who used to praise my dedication to our family was planning to replace me with someone who could offer more excitement and less responsibility. For now, I'm focusing on being the best father I can be. I've taken some time off work to be more present, and I've started attending a support group for single parents. My daughter and I are establishing new routines: Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon art sessions, bedtime stories every night. I'm learning that while I can't control everything that's happening, I can control how I respond to it. I'll update again once we've sorted out the custody arrangements. For those asking about the art teacher, yes, I sent her a thank you note. Sometimes the hardest truths come from the most unexpected places, and while this discovery has turned my world upside down, I'm grateful that someone cared enough to make that difficult phone call. Thank you all for helping me feel less alone in this. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that family portraits don't always tell the whole story, but sometimes, through a child's eyes, they reveal exactly what we need to see.